Hello to all of our listeners out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 23 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, recorded April 11th, 2016. Joining me this evening, we have Gavin, a business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, and the host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club. Hey, Gavin, how's it going?
Good. Yourself?
Pretty good, thanks. We've got Tyler. Tyler's the co-founder and co-host of the International Liberty or Death podcast. Tyler's been shooting for 10 years as a casual sports shooter and as a hunter. He identifies politically as a libertarian. Hey, Tyler, what's up?
Good to be back.
Happy to have you. Is that just a pitcher of beer?
Yeah, my other two Maaskrogs are dirty, so I just have a personal pitcher.
Right on.
I don't want to show up and drink a disappointing quantity of beer.
That would be sad.
I am glad that you problem solved the shit out of that. Oh, I'm going to have to edit. We have Jeff, a married father of one, working as a skilled trade in the construction industry. He's an avid He's been an avid firearms enthusiast for the last 5 years. He enjoys competing in IPSC, or a 3-gun, and cowboy action shooting. Jeff is on the board of directors at his gun club. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me back.
No, we got fan mail. The ladies miss Cool Jeff. Right? That LL Cool J, that's how that works?
Isn't that sad?
We got fan mail saying, bring back the Jeff. We miss him.
Well, we'll see how much I can disappoint the ladies this evening.
Oh, I'm sure no more than normal. We also have Craig. Craig has 20 years of law enforcement experience, 5 years in corrections, and 15 as a police officer with a large GTA service. Craig's also a firearms enthusiast and competitive shooter, and he's been shooting CQB since the end of the 2011 season. And this year he plans to compete in service rifle. Hey, Craig, how's it going?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me back tonight.
Cracking a lot of skulls at work?
No.
Not even hippies?
Not officially.
Andrew's the one that clubs hippies.
They're like baby seals.
Baby seal pups.
Don't worry, man. If you get into a jam, I have an excavator. Just give me a call.
Yeah. Shoot them, shovel,
you can edit that out. Don't worry about it.
As always, I'm your host, Andrew. I'm a libertarian competitive shooter gun club director, and you can see all my gear reviews on everydaytactical.com.
Then we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. That and as we like to encourage drinking amongst the panelists, anyone that puts a 5-star review in on the iTunes will get to decide what I am drinking for an episode. I believe Andrew is taking this one, though, but we'll get into that later. And where else are we here? Edited version of the show is available on Stitcher at Stitcher.com, yada, 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 whatever that is. Nobody knows what Stitcher is. We're also available on iTunes. And we're only 2 likes away from 200 Facebook likes, so please visit facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and click that like and, comment on the YouTubes. We're here every Monday at 9 o'clock, whether you want us to be or not.
Does the 200th like get some kind of prize?
Fuck
yes.
No.
You get to be the 200th person that liked the show.
I'm just happy we have 200 likes.
That and just a quick shout out to our bearded brother Wes and his boy, who he's forcing to watch the show this evening. Cheers, guys.
Hey, Wes. BTFO. Wes's kid, you'll learn what that means. Ask Dad.
Yeah.
So, what are we drinking? We'll go down the list. I see everybody's reading the show
never
notes.
has the show notes in front of him. God, I can't stand
No,
it.
I'm drinking the Ron de Jeremy.
It says rum, right?
Yes.
It says rum.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice. Ron Jeremy rum. I dig it.
I am drinking Rickard's White out of my personal pitcher. I can't remember where I got this. I think I got it from the Duke of Wellington in Kitchener, actually.
Right on. Craig, are you drinking at all?
No, I got nothing again tonight.
Nothing again. And Jeff, are you drinking?
Yeah, I'm drinking a bit of Coors Banquet.
Nice.
Nice.
American Liberty beer.
Classing the joint up with the Banquet.
Yeah, the Banquet.
Last week we got told we drink Piss Weak American beers, so I'm drinking Left Blonde.
Oh,
So that's. What do you mean? Oh, it's good. It's 6.6. It tastes like. Well, I was gonna say Europe, but
Jeremy, doesn't it?
I was gonna say it tastes like Europe, but that's not something you want to lick.
You know, the description on the back of this bottle is phenomenal, by the way. It may involve a lot of editing, though, so I'll refrain from reading it on air. But
I appreciate that.
Get yourself tested after that, eh?
I'm good. He's made like 5,000 pornos, and he doesn't have anything, so his rum can't be that bad.
It just has that salty aftertaste.
Yeah.
All right, Gavin, since you're hired to read copy and you brought us this story, why don't you tell us about the news this evening?
All right. Let me just hold on. How this story doesn't want to fucking pull up. Here we go. So I guess there's been a bit of a thing going on with Reddit, and they're deleting a surveillance warrant canary in their transparency report. So I guess there was a thing on their website before that said, you know, they weren't giving out information to the government and this and that and everything else. Now all of a sudden that seems to have disappeared. And there's been several requests from different government agencies, including 4 from Canada, for information on their users and what they are posting. Probably all about this show and the members of this panelist and our internet goings-ons. Which, I mean, I guess, you know, it's a public space that people are posting, but the fact that they're, you know, actually querying the host of the website is kind of what makes it a bit troubling, as opposed to, you know, just surfing the web and seeing what people are saying.
Now, has Reddit actually turned over the user data that they were? I guess they haven't been subpoenaed. They've been requested.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't really say whether they've actually turned it over or not. I imagine they probably have. I mean, because I guess depending on what they're asking, it's not necessarily, you know, protected per se, because again, it is posted on the internet. But
Well, but they're not asking for what people have posted, right? They're asking for
No.
user data, identifying features from users.
So I guess it would depend on exactly what information they're requesting, but that unfortunately it doesn't say. But it is sort of troubling.
The only way I would see something like that that's being requested by some sort of law enforcement agency is if some sort of crime has been committed or something is about to occur, and for whatever reason, the information about that crime was somehow solicited or it was somehow communicated through that website, and then that's how they're trying to track down who the users are. And there's ways to get that information lawfully and legally through the courts, through warrants or through production orders and different things like that. You can extrapolate all you want when it comes to stuff like this, but I skimmed over the article. I didn't read it 100%, but there just isn't enough there for me to actually cast judgment or to offer really anything.
Well, yeah, it is kind of vague, but I mean, and I agree. Like, if someone's done something criminal, then that's a different story. But if somebody's just posting their, you know, political views per se on the internet, then unfortunately, the article is kind of vague and doesn't really dive into it too well. But potentially, it could be problematic.
Yeah, absolutely, it could. I mean, there's that fine line between when someone is posting or exercising their right to talk about what their political views are and whether they have an agenda and how they're going to, get that message out, as opposed to crossing the line where you're actually going to be furthering some sort of hatred or some sort of heinous act or something like that. And of course, that's when you're going to get the you're going to have a fine scope of law enforcement looking at you when it comes to stuff like that. But again, someone's probably done something stupid somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's why we can't have nice things sometimes, right? Because people do dumb shit. So something has happened somewhere on a website, and it was investigated. They got the information somehow, and then now this is what's opened up the Pandora's box on, well, what exactly is public and what should be kept private. So I don't know. We're in that information age, and a lot of this stuff, when it comes to technology, I hate to say it, it just goes over my head. So
yeah,
just be wary of what you put out there, right? So
well, that's the thing. I'm okay with if they're scouring public-facing stuff. If you put something on the internet, it's no different than going into like the town square and shouting it so anyone can see it, right? It's the same.
Yeah.
The part that kind of worries me about this is the fact that they're requesting identifying user data. But I mean, hopefully, because it's the internet, no one's putting down like their real address when they register for a user account with Reddit, right? Like that's.
Yep.
You mean you guys don't do that? You don't put down your cell phone number and everything else, social insurance number?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure there are people that do that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a little bit of operational security there on the user's end. Like, if a website asks for your address, don't use your real address unless you absolutely need to, right? Because it's the internet.
Yeah.
You don't know where that goes.
I just give them your address, Andrew.
Well, yeah, that's fine. Put in my address. That's fine. I have the best security in the world. The local PD sits at the corner.
Yeah. That or maybe somebody put the address of a gas station up, and that's why all those cops and SWAT vans and everything were there.
You mean the donut shop?
Yeah. No, so what is it? Somebody, I think it was Jay, was it, that posted that photo of the gas station where he's at?
Where the different armored cars in the end map and stuff like that.
No, that was Russell.
Was it? Oh, yeah. I was like, that's a little ridiculous. So someone there was, like you said on his post, was clearly downloading an episode of the show from their Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the best way to get swatted, right?
Have any of you looked through the comments on this article? I think they're pretty telling. It's just riddled with references to 1984 and skepticism that like law enforcement organizations leaning on corporations to give them this information, basically circumventing the court system, like the legal way to obtain information. People don't trust it. They think it's open for abuse. Like, I'm not finding any positive comments in here whatsoever about it.
Well, especially when you look at what's going on with Apple and the FBI, right? Like, that's huge right now, and I mean has massive, potential for harm. And I mean, I get why they want that information, but I'd say that the rights of the billions of other people out there certainly trump the rights of two people that they've already shot dead.
Yeah,
it's a very, very fine line with the way things are nowadays with technology, the way technology is conveyed, social media. Again, what is public forum? What is to be kept private? When you post something, whether it's in a private forum or something that has a closed membership, is it still considered private when you're actually in the area of the actual internet, which is considered a public space in a way? It's just, again, a lot of that goes above me. I understand that people are very, very worried about this kind of stuff. I would be too, but I could only hope that proper warrants, proper production orders, proper balances and checks will be done through the courts in order to get this information, unless it's something that is like imminent, like something heinous is about to happen. And
yeah, they have the exigent circumstances clause for that stuff.
Yep. So, I don't know, man. As a police officer, yes, I know what it's like waiting and sitting and waiting for information when you know you have something, but you can't just act.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, as a private citizen, no, you're not getting that information. I get that. I completely understand it. And I get to sit on both sides and I get to see what both sides are. And I don't know. I understand the references to 1984. I mean, I remember reading that in high school, and that did ring a lot of bells with me when my interest back then was getting into law enforcement and about being a proper law enforcement officer using the the powers that are given to you for right. Just like in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And you at the end of the day, you go home, you still are a regular person, right? For the most part, and it's just, I don't know. We're going to be seeing a lot of things in the next 5 to 10 years with public domain and internet, and how information is taken from mobile devices, from computers, from forums, and from websites. And like I said, I'm not an IT guy. I don't understand any of that stuff. So
You've got all these people commenting on 1984 and referencing their rights to privacy and keeping their personal information away from anonymous postings on the internet and things like that. How much you want to bet that these people at the same time don't care about their gun rights or their property rights or other things like that? I think there's a bigger issue, and that people only seem to care about issues that are easy to defend, and they don't understand that all these things are tied together. They're all really one big issue when it comes down to the rights of the individual.
Well, that's what happens with social media, right? You're able to pick and choose what you feel is the point and click justice of the day, where I can put up a flag on my Facebook and light a candle, kind of thing. And yes, I have personal information that the government will not take from me. But on the other hand, I don't think anybody should own firearms in Canada. I don't want any of that stuff here. Why do people have these things where people get to pick and choose? That's probably the way it was before social media. But again, because of social media, everybody's able to voice that forum. And this is where everybody's opinions are starting to collide. I find social media is not so much social anymore. I find it's very political now. Everybody has something to say. I want to be heard.
Well, yeah, you can't even post a photo of a portly gentleman without getting called out on body shaming. Even though you don't make any comment as to the caliber of his character based on his size.
Yeah, and that's it. People take offense to things, and it's our right to speak our mind and to speak what we want. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you can still kind of speak hatred in a way, but not in a way that's going to cause crime or something to occur against a particular person, culture, background, or anything like that. Who says that what I think is wrong? The law? The general community as a whole? Have I breached some sort of a moral foundation where I live? Well, what if I live somewhere else up north where the culture and the communities are completely different? You should be able to speak what you want. It's just whether or not you're going to be committing criminal acts as a result of it. And then it's also their right to be offended by it.
Well, yeah, that's the blessing and a curse of a free society, right? Like, you're free to be as much of an asshole as you want, but then, other people are free to not like it, but that doesn't make them any more right or wrong than you are, just different, and you're both free to do that, which is, annoying at times, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way, right? I'd rather have people that are obnoxious and jerks and say all kinds of stupid stuff than not be able to express my opinion at all.
And I find with a lot of it as well is being educated on what your opinion is, being able to back things up. And I find some people are just very knee-jerky when it comes to a lot of things like this, where they have an opinion because they're able to somehow personalize it, and this is their response to it. This is why they're offended, and this is why it's wrong. But they may not have a proper backing to it with facts. And the things that a lot of this comes from the United States when they post facts and figures about firearms deaths and firearms discharges where people are injured and stuff like that. The one I was looking at today, they said, this is how many deaths of obesity occur every year in the United States. This is how many firearms deaths occur, and the number is, very, very different. Where apparently cheeseburgers are killing more people in America than guns are. Again, it's coming from the internet. I don't know if the facts are right. You got to take a lot of that stuff with a grain of salt.
I wouldn't doubt it. Those cheeseburgers are dangerous.
Absolutely. I mean, you get a taste
of so delicious.
Yeah, I know. My favorite place when whenever I get a craving for greasy meat is C and Dubs down by 427 in Dundas.
Yeah, I know.
Is that an account on Grindr?
I believe that's Brian's account on Grindr, actually.
If you see anything in search of greasy cheeseburger, yeah, that's my Grindr account.
Yeah, you consider
And
your head for greasy meat.
Yeah.
little known fact, that is where they filmed a scene for what's the one? Billy Madison, where he goes back to school.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know what? It's that place is always clean. It's been there. I don't know how. I remember it being there when I was younger, and it's always clean. The guys there are always welcoming. They're always nice, and the food is good. Like it's not dirty, it's not greasy, and it's worth the drive. But anyway, we've gone off topic there. But yeah, people's opinions. You got to be educated about them as well, right? You have to be able to back up your opinions when people confront you about them. And I find a lot of people just can't.
So getting back to this news article a bit, I, from a libertarian point of view, I find, the more we have these attacks, terrorist attacks or violent acts, and every time we have one, the government seems to say, well, give up some of your liberties and we'll protect you because this happened. Or, give up your right to this and we'll protect you some more. And this keeps on happening, and our liberties are being eroded at an alarming rate. And we're no safer now than we were before. And I think the public has to wake up to this fact that the government cannot protect them, and in some cases are implicit in some of these acts or have assisted in it, and that we just have to restore liberty to the utmost, and that would help protect us from a lot of this.
Yeah, I think like maybe Craig could attest to the fact that the police model in most circumstances is a response model. And so unfortunately that means that you are often in danger when you realize that you need police assistance. I think everybody would like to see, on this panel anyway, would like to see concealed carry be an option that you can make. I'll let you cut back in here in a sec here. You just mentioned that people can change their Facebook profile pictures to flags, as to make a political statement. And I think it's just kind of tragically ironic because the flags, of Belgium or the flag of France, these are the flags of the governments that created the conditions where these people were totally helpless. They created the situation where these people were legislated into the category of victim. I think it's tremendously wrong, and it really just demonstrates people's total lack of understanding of the key issues at play that lead to these situations.
When you talk about the police model, when you go back to the root basis of what the police is, it's Sir Robert Peel had his saying where the police are the public are the police. You draw from the ranks of the communities where you live, and you appoint these people as constables or as officers, and you put them in a position where they take on these jobs, and this is what they do in the community. The role of the police officer in my 15 years has changed dramatically because of things like September 11th, the change in technology, crimes that are occurring on the internet that, I could be walking down the street and there could be, 100 frauds occurring over the internet where, elderly people are being made victim, where, I have no idea, right? That's just the way it is, and that's where technology is. And yes, we are a reactive model to an extent because we've lost that part within the community where the community comes to us and helps us. And there's many, many reasons because of it. There's cutbacks, not enough police officers in the communities walking the street, talking to people. There's all sorts of social programs that the police get drawn into to participate in, and when that occurs, they're taken off of the road, and the exponential amount of calls for service that occur is unreal. That's why policing is now, it's a 25-hour-a-day job. There's not enough hours in the day. It's 1 day plus 1 hour, basically, that the calls constantly come in. Our boards are constantly filled with some that are emergent and some are just, why are you even bother calling the police? Because there are people that just have no idea how to run their lives and need the police to come in and give them answers. So when September 11th came and we had those attacks down in the United States, of course it does impact the rest of the world. We're close by, it impacts us as well. Policing becomes different. So yes, we are reactive, but we are trying to be proactive to an extent as well. But there's just certain things that we just cannot do. Okay, a terrorist attack occurs. We want our first responders to go there, take care of the event, and save the day, no matter who the first responders are. Okay, why are police being militarized now with MRAPs, body armor, fatigues, C8s, all sorts of stuff? Well, didn't you want us to go take care of what's happening in the country when something occurs? So there's that fine line where people do want to have their liberties, will give them up just a little bit, like our friend was saying there just a few minutes ago, in order to be protected, but will only give up so much. But then whenever something occurs, there's a little bit more of that infringement that goes with losing a little bit of those liberties. I don't know if that is 100% per se. No doubt it does occur to an extent. But again, we are reactive. The police, a terrorist attack occurs or something really bad happens. We're only trained so much. And there's only so many police officers that are out there that are trained to react in that way. And you're going to get, the regular Joe Blow, foot-pounding, police officers in their cars going and doing the absolute best that they can to contain and to react and take care of whatever that event is. The military should be the ones that we look to for when events like this occur, because that's what they're there for. And, we have, various military units throughout our cities, throughout our provinces, throughout our countries. And again, just because of cutbacks and the way, things are nowadays, the pendulum swinging the other way, a lot of that stuff doesn't really exist anymore. And are we becoming a little bit more of a nation of sheep? Personally, yeah, I think so. There are things that I think that could be done a lot differently. Will that infringe on certain civil liberties? As a police officer, I think, well, that's what you have to give up. But me as a regular person, I think, well, you know what? I have to really sit down and think, is this worth having done for me to give up certain liberties? And I don't know. And it goes back to, again, where the governments and the people in charge, they don't want to offend anybody. So they try and do everything that they can to give some sort of a reaction or a response that appeases everybody. I mean, we know what the terrorists are. I have to tread lightly here with what I say. We know who they are. We know what ideology they follow, and we know where they're coming from. And they are within cultures within our communities, and we don't want to necessarily infringe on the rights of those communities and those cultures in order to make the betterment of the rest of the rest of our country, where in fact, if we did put pressure in certain areas, maybe things could be different. And then I don't know, it's that could be like a whole couple-hour talk.
I think it's
I seem to be taking up a lot of the time right now. But
I think it's a very astute observation or comment that you made, that things are the way they are with the police because people asked for it to be that way. I wholeheartedly agree.
I can tell you, I've done a lot of different things. I've been blessed with amazing opportunities. I have helped a lot of people through a lot of different things. I carry a lot of stress with me now, which it haunts me at night. It wakes me in the middle of the night. Sometimes I don't like my job. Sometimes I hate it. Sometimes it takes every fiber of my being to get up and to go back and to work within the community where I am because of the shit that I'm constantly put through and that I'm exposed to. But then I think, if I don't do it, who the hell else is going to? And it is that where most of my time, despite of all the cool things that I've been able to do and the training that I have, I enjoy working the street, even though I'm kind of getting a little old for it because it's getting a little painful. But it's just one of those jobs where this is what the public wants. But then when something happens, we'll go fix it. And unfortunately, we have a lot of communities where the police department, the fire department, and the ambulance service, we're one of the only social services that run 24 hours a day. And if you need something at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, who are you going to call? One of those three services. So fire, police, and ambulance, we are the social service safety nets of the city, depending on where you are. And we are bogged down doing stuff that isn't necessarily police related. And a lot of those times, sometimes it's things that have nothing to do with policing whatsoever. We have animal control within the city, They don't even work weekends. They don't work overnights. So when something occurs and we have to shoot a dog or, take care of an animal, there's public outcry. Well, you called us to take care of an event that occurred. This is what we had to do at the time, and we have to make those decisions. That's a low end call. When something else big happens and nobody gets hurt, yeah, we get a pat on the back and the community loves us. But when we go there and something occurs and there's a negative contact with the community, and we were the only ones that are able there to solve whatever the problem is, whether it is a social or cultural illness within this society, people hate us. And there's certain things that go on in communities that we're never going to be able to solve the issue. We'll do the best that we can, but I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well, certainly not with the rules that you're given to play by.
And that is the way it is there. But that's just one community. And then once you go out of the greater Toronto area, you get into other parts which are rural, or you have, people would just say, nicer areas where you have different cultural and community makeups where their ideologies and what they want for civil liberties are completely different. Where I work, a lot of people want shit given to them, and they live off of the systems. They have generational parts of their families that have been on welfare and social handouts for generations. And you go out of these areas and that's almost unheard of. So what people see as their rights and what their freedoms and liberties are completely different wherever you go. And just because somebody in the greater Toronto area doesn't object to something doesn't mean that they don't want it to occur. But again, if they don't voice up, what it is that they want, or they don't have an opinion on something, that's when a lot of things go, go down the shitter for the most part. I don't know. Again, I'm taking up a lot of space, but
yeah. I think maybe a good question for maybe a future episode would be your ideas and like how a lot of these deficiencies could be addressed. Like, for example, would you support the idea of electing chiefs or other particular people within the police apparatus?
Well, that's why we have civilian oversight. And we'll talk briefly on that. Yeah, our chiefs are chosen by the by the Police Services Board. Do we want to go to an American system where we vote in like the sheriffs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't know if that would fly here, because you get a lot of things where, yeah, I want to vote this guy in because of A, but other people say because of B, and other people say because of C, and other people will say, well, because he's the same color as me, and I'm sick of seeing this type of person running a department. That person does his 4 years, and the people that voted for him because they thought he was going to bring in change because of their culture or their similarity in background, if he doesn't bring that, well, all of a sudden, turn their backs, kind of thing. And I think that's what we saw with Obama after his first sitting, where, unfortunately, you had a lot of people that were going out and voting, trying to get the cultural card out there. And essentially, what Obama did, in his first sitting was he lined everybody up from all different backgrounds and cultures and communities, cut everybody off at the head, and made everybody equal. So the people that were voting him in thinking that he was going to elevate them, unfortunately that did not occur. And that's why a lot of people are shitting on him now. And for a lot of other reasons as well, right? It's time for him to go. He's just...
Even our local politicians are preaching real change and have yet to provide any.
I think what a lot of this comes down to as well, and this is just me looking at it, when we're worried about our civil liberties and worried about what is going to be taken from us, whether it is in public domain or whether it's something from within the boundaries of my household, is that people are starting to really become too offended with things, and people are becoming too afraid to step up and say what needs to be said sometimes. And I think that's why somebody like Trump is really, really resonating with a lot of people down in the United States, because he's saying what a lot of people are thinking, and probably what a lot of people have been really upset about over the last however many sittings of varying presidents, with things that have been left unchecked. And I don't know, it's sometimes that crass person is funny to listen to, But when you really sit down and listen to what they have to say, it's like, you know what? The guy's kind of actually got a bit of education behind him, and he's actually thinking what I'm sort of kind of thinking. And if I'm thinking that, there's millions of other people that are the quiet majority that are thinking the same thing. So,
Okay, we've completely gone off topic. Let's go into the...
Ask a question about police chiefs. He starts talking about Obama.
Let's
You think that's pretty relevant, Tom?
let's get out of the news, and we're gonna change gears because I gotta get a sound effect for like the "we're off track" buzzer or something.
Well, don't use a gunshot.
I will cut you.
If you want to imply a train wreck, just air clips of Trudeau's victory speech.
Oh, I like that. We might use that. Okay, let's go into the main topic this evening: training for competitive shooting. So you guys all shoot competitively, right?
Yep.
Everybody on the panel does, even Gavin, even though Gavin doesn't own handguns.
I shoot competitively now.
That's right. Now you just need to get a handgun so you can shoot all the handgun sports.
Gavin, when you say competitively, you mean just trying to get the gun to run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That in itself is a competition.
Trying to bring home the same amount of parts that you left with, right? Yeah.
I did manage to bring them all home. They just didn't go back together properly. Although they did send me a second and then a third pump handle that now seems to be working just fine.
The fact that they sent you a third one does not inspire confidence.
Well, and this is
Here's an extra one, just in case.
well, no, the second one arrived and it was already cracked.
Yeah, you see, that doesn't inspire confidence.
No, and in the product it doesn't. But however, in the response and the quality of response from the distributor does help me get over that fact because they were very prompt and didn't question anything at all, which maybe leads me to believe that this isn't the first time this has happened. But they did solve the problem very quickly both times.
It is unfortunate that we're talking about a tool that's designed to contain explosions 12 inches from your face, and a key critical component can't survive the trip in a truck with Canada Post.
Yeah, well.
All I can think about is a circle jerk.
I'm so glad we have Craig on the show. He takes it to weird and exciting places. Last week was Grinder, this week is Circle Jerks.
But those things are kind of related, though.
Oh my god.
But yes, I have taken it out to the range since a couple of times, and it seems to be holding up. We shall see on May 7th if I decide to field it in the shotgun competition, which could be hilarious.
You know, $500 in a Benelli Nova would solve all your problems.
There you go.
No,
Just
my
got the
Remington,
idea.
my Remington holds up pretty good.
If you're looking to slick out your Remington, take it up to Tackord, Casey. He did I had a full vein comp job done on it, except for the porting on because I didn't need the porting on the barrel, and that thing came back, and it's like butter. It's amazing. That is something I'll never get rid of. But
Nice. Yeah, I definitely need to get some more work done on it, but it's pretty good as of right now. I mean, it doesn't fall apart, so that there alone is a step above, right?
Yeah, it's getting there. All right, so the competitive shooting thing. Everybody shoots competition. I guess we should run down what everybody shoots, then we can figure out if anybody does stuff differently. So, Gavin, you're all about the shotgun shooting.
Yeah, I guess shotgun action shooting now, but I did at least semi-competitive trap a number of years ago.
Okay. And Jeff, you shoot all of the guns?
I shoot all the guns behind me all the time. So, 3-gun shotgun matches, IPSC. I haven't competed in the ORA in 2 years, CQB. I do cowboy once a year at our club, and I think that's about it.
Okay. And Tyler, what are the different disciplines that you're involved in?
We shoot defensive pistol at my club quite a bit, and we're partnered with another club close by. The rules are more or less the same as IDPA, but we're not affiliated with IDPA. We do a lot of I don't know what you would call it, tactical shotgun, action shotgun, shooting courses of fire, steel targets, just you name it. Gavin and Jeff shot a match that's pretty much par for the course for the type of stuff we do with shotgun. Don't do anything official with carbines, but I'm hoping to get into it maybe late this year or do 3-gun with the Ontario Action Shooting League next year.
Nice. Craig, you're involved in the ORA, CQB, and service rifle. Do you shoot anything outside of that, or just for your work stuff?
I do some stuff with work, and I'm currently, funds permitting and ammo and stuff like that, I want to try out ODPL.
Oh, nice.
And,
You'll have fun with that.
And because that's a little bit more up my alley, but I also wouldn't mind trying IDPA or IPSC. I can't remember which is the one that I'm interested in. I think it's the one where I have to get the black badge or something like that.
IPSC, yes,
And,
absolutely.
Whatever is sort of local. I'm pretty well up for anything. Shotgun as well. I did have delusions of grandeur about going down to Michigan and shooting the 3-gun there, and then I got sucked in by the service rifle, so that's what's going to be taking me up for this year.
Nice.
And had a blast on this past weekend.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed shooting with you on Saturday. Craig and I had a chance to do a clinic together.
It was a lot of fun. Fortunately, right after lunch, right towards the ending, I could really start feeling it in my throat. And that night before bed, there's no way I was going to be able to get up in the morning and do the rest of the shoot. So yeah, I bitched out. I called in sick and didn't get to the second day. So
that's all right. I still went on the second day. Somebody's got to represent.
Yeah, that's right. But it was a lot of fun. Any training that you can get, even if you're not really competing, any training you can go out and get, where you're looking at fundamentals and polishing up skills and stuff like that. How can you say no to stuff like that? So
absolutely. I guess that means I get the widest variety of stuff. I think Jeff, you're the only person that shoots cowboy action out of this group of folks.
I guess that means I'm the oldest.
I guess that officially makes you the oldest, or the snappiest dresser.
I'm the only one that can't stop a bullet today. Well, yeah, Craig too.
So I don't do cowboy, but I think I do all of the other things. I'm involved in IPSC, ODPL, which is Southern Ontario's version of IDPA. So it's just we don't pay league fees, but it's the same kind of action handgun stuff. Shotgun, 3-gun, ORA service rifle, CQB precision rifle, and the only thing I really don't do is cowboy.
He doesn't mean cowgirl, though.
Reverse.
So much editing.
What I found, though, because I've been with the ORA shooting since 2011, all those things that you talk about, when you join and you pay your fee for the year, and then you look at what you want to do for the rest of the year for your disciplines, look how much is available to us. Like, yeah, we're doing service rifle on the weekend, but then, you also do precision. There's also F class. There's all sorts of stuff that the ORA offers, and you really don't really appreciate that until you immerse yourself into it and you really get into it. And, man, it's, I don't know, the world's your oyster. So, and then meeting all these people here, you find out, what, I wouldn't mind. I've looked at cowboy action before, but there's no fucking way I'm wearing that stuff.
You know what, Craig? I just wear the boots and a hat. That's it. And I shoot
nothing else.
I shoot the Wild Bunch division, so it's a 1911, a 1897 shotgun, and a lever action. And it's a lot of fun. And like I said,
and that is something I know that I would go to and I would try out, and it would be an absolute blast. So why the hell not?
But then you would have to get like the snap button shirt, the boots, and the spurs.
No,
the neckerchief.
Just wear a hat and boots.
Yeah.
And when I was down at SHOT Show, there was a dude that was cowboy action, and man, you should have seen his outfit. It was unbelievable. It was like sequins and like pink flames and like the whole deal.
Bedazzled?
Oh yeah. It was something else.
When I went to the Sportsman Show in March, I haven't been to the Sportsman Show probably for about 30 years, and I keep hearing that it's changed. And when I went there, it has. It's not what it used to be. But I brought my son, and we had a good time. And who I actually was really impressed with were those guys that shoot the black powder, and they're dressed up in period attire. And I mean, they've even got piercings, and it looks like they make that a way of life as well.
They do, and I probably know the guy that you're talking about.
And you know what? Whatever floats your boat. And when you look at that kind of firearm, that kind of rifle, that's some pretty cool shit, man. And that's base. That's like base fundament. Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying that out.
They're a lot of fun, man. My buddy's got one. He does all that reenactment stuff.
Yeah.
So I take him out to the range, and he gets to shoot all of my modern guns, and he brings out all of his black powders, and we have a fun day. And everybody, like, when you go out and you shoot like a big caliber gun, everybody at the range turns and looks at you. If you shoot black powder like that at the range, they all turn and go, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
There's just like smoke everywhere, and whoever's on the bench to your right fucking hates you because they are just covered in powder at the end of the day. It just, blows everything out the breech there, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I definitely could get into at least going and watching an event like that for sure.
If you ever want to go, they do it at Fort York. I'll shoot you the info. It's a lot of fun.
Right on.
All right, let's venture away from shooting briefly and talk about all the other less exciting stuff that goes along with it. So I'm sure, Craig, you're involved in keeping in shape for work. Tyler, you're a ridiculous person who wears a plate carrier for fun. What are you guys doing for like general fitness stuff, since that's all goes back into shooting?
Okay, I'll start this out. And you know what? I mainly compete in IPSC. I guess I shoot the most IPSC matches mostly, and then 3-gun and shotgun. And what I do is just basically a lot of shooting and try to get on the treadmill 3 times a week, get the cardio up. The older you get, I find my upper shoulders, upper body is weakening, so I try to keep the strength up with some free weights. And same with the quads, so squats, and just strengthening exercises with that. And I'm guilty of not doing enough dry firing. I know that should be an important part in my regime, but it's not. And instead, I have the luxury of being able to go to the range quite often during the week. And I'm out there shooting 2 times a week at least, going through probably 400 rounds a week. So I'm out shooting a lot.
As far as physical fitness goes, I've been working out 3 out of every 4 days since I was 15, and I've managed to keep steady with that. Investing in personal weight equipment. I've never had a gym membership except for 1 year when I lived in Germany, and I couldn't bring anything with me. But I've kept that up, and it translates really well to shooting because as you have a well-developed cardiovascular system. Your heart rate is always constant. You don't have muscle tremors when you're pushing yourself into awkward shooting positions. It really lends itself well to the shooting sports to be in good physical shape.
I've been a member of a gym probably for almost 20 years, and I'm actually a member of 2 gyms, just so that I'm not going to the same one all the time, which kind of does get repetitive. I've educated myself a lot over the years, going from when I was younger to where, a heavy supplement-based regime with working out to now where I don't really take a whole lot of stuff other than, coffee on the way into the gym with some minor supplements. Do a lot that's strength-based. I was, over the last couple of years, in a couple positions where I was carrying a lot of equipment. And if I was deployed to go do something, there's a lot of stuff that I have to carry, which years ago I was very cardio-based. And now I'm at the gym, minimum 4 days a week. I do a lot of strength training. In the off season, I don't do a lot of running or cardio, but I pick that up once the spring comes and stuff like that. And the last 2 years, I've picked up a lot of days where I go in and all I'm really doing is a lot of stretching and some minor weight work as well, because I just find it is when you get older. I'm 42 now, and I find, I can't push a lot of the same weight that I used to before because my joints really hurt. But I find, going and doing, some of the classes that are yoga based or something like that, where you're doing a lot of the stretching. I kind of used to scoff at that years ago, which I wish I had actually done it years ago now, because I probably wouldn't be as much in pain as I am now sometimes when I'm doing stuff. And your ligaments, your muscles, and all your supporting muscles and stuff like that. When it comes to shooting, there's so many different things that come into play when that needs to work all at once in order to from when we were doing our standing snaps there with those moving targets on Saturday. I know exactly which muscles I really got to work on now in order to keep that barrel and that scope flat in order to make those proper hits and stuff like that.
Yeah, just to be able to sort of hold it up long enough.
Yeah, and I just find that I usually don't down any Monster or Red Bull drinks until after the first 2 matches at CQB, and then it really hits in, and then that last one, the target kind of looks like a shredded cheese. So, but I always preach physical fitness. I'm not as fit as I used to be years and years ago, but I want to retire healthy. I don't want to be one of those guys that retires who's gained, 200, almost 300 pounds, collects 6 paychecks, and then dies, something like that. I'm not a heavy drinker. I don't smoke. I don't have any real bad vices or anything like that. And I honestly see a connection with physical fitness or physical ability. You don't have to be 100% fit. You just have to have that proper ability in order to shoot and to compete. So
I'll second that. I've seen a lot of overweight guys who are not old by any means drop out of competitions because they just can't compete, because they're not able to move. They're not able to take a kneeling position to shoot quickly. They just can't compete.
You have to know, like with any sport that you're doing, there's always base fundamentals and base skill sets that you have to have, and you have to be very, very responsible and true to yourself. Can I do this? Do I have the ability to do this, or am I just wasting my time? Am I going to hurt myself and injure myself while doing this? And yeah, we always tell people, go out, just show up with what you got, or don't bring anything. Someone will have something for you, and you'll be able to shoot, and you'll be able to compete. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are not in shape that shoot, because that's a fundamental freedom here. You do whatever you want. You want to go shoot, you go shoot. That's just the way it is. You want to go drive a car, on a track? That's what you do. You do stuff like that. Yeah, but I still believe you still have to be responsible to yourself. And if you just don't have the ability to do it anymore, you have to be able to say, look, I'm going to step back. And maybe with all that accumulated knowledge, you can take on a role and support where you're going to be able to instruct and you're able to pass that on to new shooters and stuff like that.
For sure. I think that that whole physical fitness aspect of it is hugely translatable, especially to the kind of shooting that you and I do, Craig, where it's service condition stuff, and it wasn't bad this weekend, but everybody's got to hump their gear from the 500 down to the butts, so it's just like a 500-yard walk with a rifle and your equipment for the day.
Yep.
And I've been on the ranges before, and it's not so bad at 500, but when we have the 1,000-yard range, a lot of the guys, particularly older and more out-of-shape guys, have wagons that they drag along behind them with all of their equipment because they can't ruck 200 pounds or 200 rounds of ammo in a rifle because it's too much for them.
And even I had to do some soul searching because I'm used to bringing my deployment bag and stuff like that for CQB, where I set everything up as according to if I had to go to my trunk and bring something out. I really had to scale that down and shove it into that day pack. And I'm actually really, it may not mean a lot to a lot of people, but I'm actually really proud of what I did, and I was able to hump all that stuff and really learn about packing small and being a minimalist when it comes to stuff like that. And next time I just got to stick more sandwiches in there because I got to eat every hour, every 2 hours in order to keep going. And when I forgot my sandwiches all the way back and we were
just
down
pack
to
a couple of MREs, man. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, that or crack.
Yeah. That might affect your shooting, though.
Actually, on the MREs, I guess, do you guys do anything special for diet? Does anybody do anything unusual, or you just sort of have that seafood diet?
Yeah, I eat a lot of bacon. I drink a lot of alcohol. That's pretty much it. That's
Yeah,
how I maintain my amazing physique.
that sounds very similar to my diet. I eat a lot of meat and I drink a lot of beer.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm any different. I keep telling people who are trying to get physically fit, who've come to me knowing that I've managed to stay dedicated, even though I strictly do a home gym thing, so I self-motivate, which a lot of people can't do. But they come to me and ask me questions about diet and things like that. And I'll tell them, look, it's a lot easier to adjust your lifestyle to accommodate eating the things you like than it is to stop doing the things you love doing. If you really like hamburgers, if you like a cold can of Coke on a hot day, there's not a lot that you can do to get rid of that craving. But what you can do is you can make lifestyle adjustments to accommodate that. So I just encourage people to exercise more rather than try and avoid bad, quote unquote, bad foods, because most bad foods are calorie rich, which go very well with an exercise heavy lifestyle.
Absolutely. I think it's the difference is, of course, if you're going to down a 2-liter of Coke and then go to a shooting match, versus you're going to have a can of Coke because it's a it's a nice day to sit down outside and have a can of Coke.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I used to be a lot heavier than I am. Not that I'm small now, but just through like little things, like not even working out that much or doing anything that physical, but increase my physical activity just a little bit, and not necessarily stop eating and drinking things that I enjoy, but just cut back on them just a little bit, and things like that, where I'm not really drastically altering my life or giving something up, has made a huge difference, and I've lost like 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly in a sustainable manner, right?
It also comes down to being able to educate yourself and understand what you're putting in and how it affects your body. There's a lot of stuff that's out there on the internet, on TV, and all those other things as well. I come from the generation where, I forget their names, but we had participation, that came into the schools, and we always got those patches based on your level of fitness when you fit. And then, you had those
bronze
people
for life,
were...
baby, bronze for life.
Yeah, and, that really motivated you to say, well, okay, I got this bronze one. Next time I really want to, get up and I want to, get to a higher level and understand that stuff.
I hated that shit more than anything.
So, if you really want that, you want to down a lot of that Coke or something like that, what I find is drink carbonated water, because that gives you the same sort of feeling of a carbonated drink. There's like salts and minerals and stuff like that in it as well. I'm sure it's pretty shitty for you in one respect or another.
But it's
you also
not
got to
that
understand.
shitty.
Yeah, you got to understand, after certain times of in the evening, there's stuff that you maybe shouldn't eat, just different things like that. I try and stay with that. Do I break that? Absolutely. If I find, sour cream and onion rings in the cupboard at, 1:30 in the morning, those fuckers are getting eaten. That's
all dressed chips, man. All dressed chips. The bane of my existence.
There's a new chip. There's a new
chip. That's so Canadian of you, Tyler.
There's a new potato chip out. It's a Harvey's cheeseburger chip or something like that, and I'm not into those things because they're too exotic for me and in my palate. But I had those, and oh my god, that's like, if there was heaven, that was it. It's
there goes all that weight that I just lost. Thanks for that, Craig.
oh, buddy, you gotta try it. You gotta try it.
But I found that, like, for me, the biggest, like, I'm not the kind of go to the gym kind of guy on my own. Like, I just can't do that. Like, I'm not motivated to do that. So, I've had to find things that I personally enjoy doing. Like, I used to play rugby, 4 days a week would be practice, at least, and then, a game on Sunday. And I was in pretty good shape then, but then I blew my knees out. So there's certain things I can and can't do anymore. But, then I got into medieval martial arts. I haven't done it for a while, but that was something I could do because I wasn't going to the gym and just like bench pressing all day, and just like bored out of my mind because I'm on my own.
That's where the education.
That had a social component to it as well, and then I'm more motivated to do it. And that's not for everybody. Like, if you're like Tyler and you can self-motivate and just go and do your home gym thing quickly each day, like, that's amazing. But for me, that wasn't the case, right? It took me kind of getting a dog to go and walk around my neighborhood 3 times a day and stuff like that. Like, I needed that extra little push personally to get off my ass sometimes.
So that's one of the things where the Tough Mudder came from. You know, the Tough Mudder adventure race.
Yeah.
It's just running is boring, right? It's not really mentally stimulating. So I've done a bunch of those. They're a ton of fun, and I don't know if I should recommend them or not if you've had knee injuries, but
no, I would do one. I mean, whatever. I know when to stop if they get bad.
Or well, we should all do one then. Make T-shirts, you know.
I'm in. I'll probably finish dead last, but I don't care.
What's the rule on having
still
T-shirts
finish
for
'cause
Tough
I'm
Mudder?
stubborn.
Can we have vulgar language on them, or is that like that other event?
I don't know. There's not like a sensitivity officer, you know, checking your gear over. You know, you just do your thing. I don't know.
It's going to get covered in mud anyway.
Yeah,
but when it comes to stuff like you're saying, Gavin, yeah, you know, I'll finish dead last. Chances are you probably won't. But I always tell people when it comes to stuff like this, you're there.
Oh yeah,
all those other
people aren't.
There's a lot of people that aren't. And then when it comes to stuff like going to the gym all the time, it's very hard to self-motivate. And that's when education comes in, when it's like, okay, well, I'm hurting here. I don't know if I can do this today. What can I do as something else? And sometimes you go in and you just make shit up. And there's also the social component that comes with it as well. And that's where it helps, where, you know what, I don't want to go to this gym today. I'm going to go to another one, you know, which is a little bit of a longer drive, which helps me prep and really clear my mind. It's very social for me in that respect, because there's people that I know there that I can call upon, like, look at, I don't know, what are you working on today? Do you mind if I work in with
well, I mean,
you?
that's what I liked
something
about,
like that.
When, you know, like, and when we did that stupid Canada Fitness nonsense, and, you know, the 12-minute run, like, that was total bullshit. Like, I just sucked at that because I was not motivated to run for 12 minutes on a track. Like,
yeah.
Thanks, high school, but no thanks. But at the same time, you know, you could put me in a 90-minute rugby game, and I would be running flat out the entire time because I'm motivated.
Yep, and people also have to understand now, which because of education and a lot of these different fitness programs that are coming out, you have to understand what is good for you and your body type and what your fitness level is when you're doing it. What's good for you, like what's good for you may not be good for me, and vice versa. Or we may find something where you know I know where you live now. I know what gym is down by you, which I have a membership at. We can start going to the gym, and we can really work on some of those things, right?
If you ever want to get into some, you know, hand-to-hand medieval martial arts Viking shit, hitting each other with swords, I got to get back into that. And I've got all the equipment.
I don't know where to go with that.
I feel like I have not hit enough people with swords lately. That's
Hey, eventually we're all gonna run out of ammo.
Yeah, you might run out of ammo. I'm all right.
For now.
Yeah, it's just, but fitness always has to be something that you not only bring to yourself, you also have to preach it to your family. Pass it down to your kids. You know, my kids are, you know, my daughter's 19 and my son is 8, and they're both fitness phenoms when they're on the ice, when they're on the field, when they're doing different things, and they're healthy because, yeah, we kind of force them to do this kind of stuff, but it also puts them into team sports, and that's another aspect as well, because there's the social aspects and dealing with people and learning how to take hits, you know, rather than being, you know, some fucking hipster that, you know, gets offended and needs a safe space.
And everybody on the team gets an award.
Yeah, I mean that's what they've brought in, right? But I mean, the sports that they're in now, the levels they're in, you have to work for what you're getting. And again, it goes back to education. Go back and you learn what's good for you. And you know, the same thing with shooting and stuff like that. Everybody says this, what's the best break in the world? You know, what do I need? What's the best AR? What's best for this? What's best for that? I was the same way years ago when I first got into this kind of shooting. And I would get some of these compensators, and like I was surprised I even had eyebrows left, or that my fingers were still on my hand, kind of thing. I've gone back to a certain kind of style of shooting, but the way I shoot, that equipment doesn't work for me. Where my style of shooting would be different to somebody else who may require a kind of compensator or a break or something like that. So it's all individual, all across the board. Whether it's fitness, whether it's shooting, it's equipment. It's, you know, how you're getting into shooting poses. Like on the weekend when we're doing those kneeling and stuff like that in prone. Oh my god.
I'm going
old.
to be so bad at that when I get old because I can't do kneeling. So the way that you do the ORA service rifle method of kneeling is to sit on your back foot. And I don't mean like with your like foot up and you like sit on your heel. I mean like you cant your foot over and the outboard side of your right foot is flat on the ground and then you sit on your instep. And it is an interesting experience.
See,
But
I
if we
find that
practice that,
on
it would
my
work.
knee. Yeah, because I have bad knees. For me, that position is more comfortable than actually like kneeling on my knee.
But if we stretched and like Tim was saying,
Right.
if you work at it, by the end of the season we're going to have it down, no doubt.
Oh yeah, even practicing over the winter, I've got a couple of muscles in my leg that don't flex quite as far as maybe they ought to get into that position comfortably.
Yeah.
Just stretch and work at it, and you'll be able to do, as the Aussie man calls them, spreadies, and you'll be good to go.
I think that's really important. Going to the range with a goal, with a purpose.
Absolutely.
Knowing what your deficiencies are and developing drills to work on them. It's really
And
not
also-
a whole lot different than
And
addressing.
going in and just saying, like, even with your Tough Mudder, going back and talking to Gavin finishing last, chances are he won't. But just go into shooting or the Tough Mudder, knowing that you're competing with yourself.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same concept as going into the gym with a specific purpose. Like, okay, today I want to work on legs. Like, I have deficiencies here. This is what I want to develop. This is where I would need to develop the strength. Same thing, go into the range. Oh, my draw is slow. So I'm just going to draw 100 times, 150 times.
Yep.
Or my double taps suck. So that's all I'm going to do today. You just figure out what your deficiencies are and work on them. If you are slow, I'm not intimately familiar with how the CQB matches work, but if you're slow dropping from a standing position to prone, maybe you need to work on that. Do that 50 times. Wipe yourself out doing it. But
you're going to get introduced to something called modified prone.
I love shooting modified prone. Modified prone is the most
Yeah, but that's
comfortable
because
thing.
you have like a $300 widget for your gun that you get to show off with.
I refer to that as a big bowl of dicks. That I can't stand that position.
Modified prone is amazing. I could fall asleep like that.
If you do that, I'll teabag you.
Then you could use that as your grinder profile picture.
I was just gonna say that sounds like a grinder thing.
there you go. But just to tie it all up with like preparing for competitive disciplines. I was teaching a holster course in my club this weekend, and I don't know if you guys deal with like new shooters on a regular basis, but you always see some pretty interesting things. And
Oh yeah.
That's why I always shoot in the middle line. I don't shoot on the outskirts. I always shoot in the middle.
You saw some pretty interesting stuff. But
We've had some events over the years that I can't speak about. That fuck this, I'm moving away.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
going
That's
down the
why
other side.
I wear my plate carrier when I'm at the range.
yeah.
Even if I'm just
Some
bench shooting,
things
I
that
wear
make
it.
you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But my takeaway, without telling embarrassing stories about people or naming names, my takeaway is it's important to prove your gear. So in the run up to competition season, not only are you Gavin, not only are you spending time drilling and addressing deficiencies and improving your skill set, but you're also proving your gear. If you make a modification to your gun, for example, change your load weight, change your spring weight.
He said
make
load.
any kind of change. I did say load.
He's been taking his zinc supplements.
I've been taking my zinc supplements. That's right.
It's an important part of his diet.
Like these things are all important. You got to prove your gear. I saw lots of malfunctions on the line when we were doing the holster qualification, and it's just kind of embarrassing. It's like you have to show up and fire, 50 rounds. That's all your gun needs to get through, and we still have guns go down. It's just pathetic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Last week we talked a little bit about the JTF2 standard stuff that came up on Soldier Systems. I know Tyler and I are completely baller, and we did the test. How did anybody else go through the fitness standard stuff?
No, but I could eyeball it now and tell you roughly how I would do. Other than the running part, because I don't run. I have a gun.
Running for me, I mean, I'm not a big runner anymore, but when it comes down to it, when I have to do like a mile and a half, I don't know if that was part of the component. I don't remember what the run is. My mile and a
Yeah.
half is at about, I hate to say it, it's at like 14 minutes, which for me, with my dash hound legs, is an achievement. When I was training, all those years ago when we were actually in the academy, when we went away for 3 months, and you had all that dedicated time working out and training for the exit physicals and stuff like that. I mean, I was sub 10, and then when you do the shuttle run, I was almost making it to level 10, and each level is 8 shuttles back and forth. But when it comes to stuff like push-ups and the sit-ups, I think we still do. Is it 75 in 3 minutes? So that's 25 a minute that we do. Our pull-ups on a regular basis, like when I'm doing back or a core. I mean, I could still pull off like 8, sometimes 12. And push-ups have never been a problem for me, just because of the way I'm built. And before I'm even fatigued, I can get up maybe to just over 50. So.
Okay, what's your single rep max for like a bench press? Do you know that offhand?
So 45. So 5 times 40. What's 5 times 45?
Like just shy of 200, like 180. Is that right?
Oh, hold on.
No, it's 225.
So it's 225 plus a 25 on each. So 275 right now. And that's something I can work with a couple times. So
that's that. Okay, yeah, that's enough to qualify. So the standards from the GTFQ thing, I averaged it out for their thing was you had to get 75 points to qualify for selection. So I just like picked the 15-point average across all their stuff and put it in the show notes. So Craig, if you could run faster, you'd make it.
Yeah, I saw the points that you need for running, and whenever I do what we call the fitness pin, there's certain things that come up whenever you want to apply for a specialized position. You need your physical fitness pin, and there's the criteria for it. Where I lose out on score is the run. It's always the run, so I always have to make it up in the more body physical components, where it's the push-ups or something like that. So.
Right on. So Tyler, you did well enough that you actually would qualify for selection too, right? Like you got 80-something points, you said?
88 points. Yeah, and I had handicapped myself because I did a full chest workout before doing the qualifier, and when I did my run, I had my plate carrier on, and it wasn't really clear whether like you were to do the run in full gear or not. Like I don't know.
Yeah, that'll make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And you'll see now, like people have a certain idea or a perspective on how they think guys like JTF or SEALs or specialized tactical guys are supposed to look like. These big burly guys, and so they do exist. We do have those, but guys like you.
I'm 5'9", 172 pounds.
You're essentially it. The trend nowadays. Any of our guys at work, we do have those guys that are built because they meet a specific purpose. But the general line guys, like when you have guys that are lined up and they're about to kick a door or something like that, they're not huge. They're fit as fuck, but they're of average height, excellent shape, the superior shape, but they're not big hulking guys because they still have all that gear to use, but they have to be compact, and that's where I think a lot of the trend is going to a certain extent. And and I think I've only ever met one guy that we think is JTF, and that's just how he was built, and that's he's just a small guy.
Well, if you ever need someone just to kick indoors, I'm your guy. Because when I do my calf raises, I've got somewhere between 6 to 8 like plates on there, like the 25-pound plates or whatever, easy.
Yeah.
And I'm doing reps of 10, no problem. So I've got strong legs.
We try
But
not
they
to
don't-
kick
they
so
don't-
much anymore, but we.
They don't make me run very fast.
But then again, you don't really need that kind of a physical standard in order to shoot, kind of thing. But it is kind of a
No.
neat thing in order to, let's try that out. Maybe that's something I can aspire to. That might unlock something within a person that is like, wait a second, I can do this. I now have a potential to be something else in life. Something interesting, something cool. So.
Well, that was kind of my takeaway from the whole exercise was, hey, like, here's a base set of, like qualifications. How about I set a goal to try and max out every category? Get 30 points in every category. Like, there's a goal right there that you can set yourself to achieve, and then every attempt you make at it once a week, you can see yourself climb in the rankings. So it's rewarding every step of the way.
Yeah, I like using the CF tests or I guess they're the CAF test now, as that sort of motivator, because, I did the basic one, and I put all this in the show notes, if the basic, the parachutist, and the JTF2 fitness standards. And I know I've done basic before, but I know I couldn't qualify now, so I want to work on that again. Because after I got out of university and I was, like, terribly out of shape from being a university student and eating, like, cold pizza and warm beer every day for 4 years, I decided to start going to the gym again and work out, and like it was one of those things that's like, I have to buy a size bigger pants. This is no good. I really need to like fix my life, right? So I started working out again. I'm like, what I'd really like to do is like make the parachute standards so that I could like qualify for jump school.
Mm-hmm.
I just plan on doing the whole Viking berserker thing and just getting really high on mushrooms and alcohol so that I just can't feel anything, and then I'm good to go.
That is a plan.
You know what? With the guns that you run in competition, that'll probably do you well.
Hey, that thing will work as a mean club, man, when it stops firing after 12, 15 shots. It's solid, just other than the grip.
Just the grip. Awesome. Let's do some talking specifically about shooting stuff, I guess.
Nobody ever complains when their fleshlight works. You never hear that.
How did you know I have one of those?
You're using it right now, aren't you?
No.
He didn't have pants on last episode.
I got them on now.
I am so happy about that. Earlier, Jeff mentioned that he doesn't do dry fire because he just goes to the range because he's made of money. Do you guys have a dry fire routine at all that you go through? Do you practice gun stuff at home at all?
Yeah, draws, of course. I think you and I we're very, very, the same. You got to worry about your gear. You got to make sure that it works. You don't want to be one of those guys that shows up to a match with unproven gear and something fails, and that also goes to your skill set. So, I practice draw strokes. When I switched to the belt that I'm wearing now, with where it's placed on the belt, I had to get used to that, and I got used to it by doing a lot of drawing in front of the mirror and doing a little bit of Target Sports years ago. Had these Glock barrels. I guess Blade Tech had them, but they had a couple of them that were just separate up at the front cache. So I bought one of those, and that's what I would put in. I would do my dry fire with that, and I found that helps. Back then, I was using my work Glock, which has like a 100-pound trigger in it anyway. But that's how you learn your. Again, that's your skill set. That's how you learn your equipment. You become one with your piece of, with your pistol, and you have to know what works and what doesn't work. So.
Yeah, as far as dry fire practice goes, it's obviously very important to get that consistent trigger pull. And really, I find that one of the things that people most often screw up is when you draw your pistol. If you don't, they call it your first and final grip, because chances are once the buzzer's running, you're not adjusting your grip while you're shooting. And a lot of people seem to screw that up. And as soon as they have a bad grip, then all their shots are thrown to the left or high or low or whatever. And so it's very important not only to practice the trigger press itself, but also the draw. So I try to incorporate that all into my practice routine. I'll just throw on like a Kathleen Wynne speech and just do my thing. You know what I mean?
If you get one of those CERT training pistols, you could set that up to register every time you hit her in the face.
Remember what we said about posting stuff on public forums and people coming and kicking down your door?
That's not a real gun, and it's not pointed at a real person. She's on the TV.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Anyway, no, what I tend to do is I'll just pick arbitrary points in the room and just do my thing and mix it up a little bit to reflect like the realities of the competitive scenarios that I find myself in. Start sidestepping and then draw and and hold my front sight on the target as I move, to kind of simulate taking multiple shots. Just all the things that you encounter in the stages that you shoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last year, I on a whim, I went and I bought those slip-on Hogue grips for my pistols, and I found that completely changed my grip. It changed the way I was able to draw, and it actually changed a little bit of my sight alignment as well, where I was shooting horribly, and I was trying to maintain the grip and thought I could work around it, and ended up I took them off for this season. I've given them away, and I've gone back to just the way the pistol's made. I still find one of the best things to use, like if you have a slippery grip or you want something like that, is to cut up a piece of bicycle inner tube and then you slip that over, because that essentially takes the shape of the grip itself, but it doesn't really add anything to it. Or one of the other good things to add to a grip is just a little bit of people use skateboard tape, but I find that that really tore up one of my Arc'teryx jackets last year with one of my pistols, and I wasn't too happy about that. But she's using hockey tape. Hockey tape is good when it gets wet because it gets a little bit more sticky and a little bit more tacky. And that way,
skateboard grip tape is pretty dry and rough on your hand too, I imagine.
Oh, but last weekend when we were shooting in that blizzard, I totally could have used it on the actual the slide itself, because there were times where I couldn't even rack the slide because of how wet everything was, or the ice that was actually on the pistol itself. So that was a good learning experience about not just deficiencies, but where you as a person fail with stuff that doesn't come up. What are the chances of that ever happening again? Well, I don't know. It may happen next year, but I now know where I really suck at. And
well, depending on your philosophy of gun ownership, like a realistic situation, I don't know if you're still a serving officer or now you're in corrections or it's the other way around.
No, I'm still a police officer.
Yeah, so a very realistic situation. It's winter, 6 months out of the year. You might be drawing and using your duty weapon in those conditions.
Yep.
So obviously, I like to practice for those types of scenarios. Winter is reality in this country, so knowing that your gear works properly and knowing that you personally can operate your gear in those conditions is important to me, anyway.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, this last 2015, I shot the last IPSC match down in Silverdale, and it was the coldest IPSC match I've ever shot. And it was 6 stages, and at stage number 6, my hands were trembling so badly, I could barely hold the pistol on target. And like Tyler's saying, real-world conditions. Boy, you can't get much more real world than that. I mean, I was dressed warm and I had all the gear on, but my hands and I was just so cold that you just can't get over that. And it was great training. I learned what my limits were in terms of shooting in cold.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the day that the three of us were out in Guelph, I mean, that was a pretty shitty cold day. I mean, the sun came out right about the time we were packing up everything, but yeah, you definitely need to be out there, rain, shine, hot, cold.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something I really like with the service condition stuff that Greg and I do is it doesn't matter what it's doing. There isn't a match, we don't cancel matches because of inclement weather. So it's an opportunity to run the guns in sort of unusual conditions more often than not. We very rarely have matches on nice days. It's either stupid hot or stupid cold or raining or snowing.
where your hands are, it goes the other way. Where I found that my hands are so sweaty that you're having trouble holding onto the rail of your rifle, and then when you're transitioning to your pistol, and because we never have one in the chamber, you have to draw then cock. Your hand comes slipping right off, kind of thing, and it's those are things you have to prepare for. And again, it goes back to
putting a chalk bag on your rigs.
You know what? I've actually thought of like a resin or something like that. So.
Now, Gavin, Jeff, you guys were there at the shotgun match at my club on the 5th of March. Right in the morning, it was -10, and it warmed up to 0. The most common, or the gun that went down most often that day was the Versamax.
No, that only went down once, and then
Gavin's went down, and then that was the end of it. And then his optic broke on his backup gun. But we had like 5 Versamaxes go down. And all these guys were summer competitors. Their lubricants weren't, kind of proven in winter conditions. Go ahead, make your jokes. And the guns just didn't work right. We had all kinds of ejection failures, extraction failures, like you name it. All these guns went down in those conditions.
I was given from an armor friend of mine a couple of years ago. He gave me a big bottle of that EWL Extreme Ewell something 2000 Slip 2000, and I find out of all the stuff that I've used, that is the absolute best because it maintains its consistency even in the cold.
Nice.
And the only failure that I had because we were learning how to shoot. Tim was teaching us in service rifle to shoot with your hand on the mag well. And because we were wearing gloves and I couldn't really feel my fingers, I was putting my finger over where the ejection port was, and I was having double feeds, or the casing wasn't coming out, or I was stovepiping.
Fuck yeah!
But when it comes to
my semi-auto 22 one time, I was shooting and my hand was pretty close to the port, and it stovepiped one, and it burnt the shit out of my finger. Learned not to put my hand there pretty quickly, and that was only on a 22.
Yeah, and so that goes to say, like, when we talk about, the chance of concealed carry here in Canada, or training for an event that may occur in whatever weather conditions, it comes down to something as small as the actual maintenance of your platform, and using a really good lubricant and maintaining your firearm, not just for to ensure that it works, but also to keep it safe as well, so that you don't have a catastrophic malfunction or something like that. But yeah, man, that Slip 2000 is amazing stuff, and I'm happy with it.
I know for a fact, like, I have a JR carbine in 9mm, and that's a really fun gun to shoot, and it's pretty darn accurate and everything, and runs great. But I can tell when it's time to clean it because it starts stovepiping like a bitch, like, and then it's like, oh no, gotta scrub it all out and clean it now because it's just not running right.
With my 22 pistol, I can tell when it needs cleaning as the pile of brass gets closer and closer to me, until it's just like a foot next to me. And I know it's just not operating correctly.
Yeah.
Does Gavin have a gun that runs more than 200 rounds?
Yeah. My VZ, baby. That thing runs like a champ.
Okay, yeah, I believe that. I got one of those. They're great guns.
That and the 22 that I bought off of Tyler, that runs like a champ.
Well, I got a Sig Sauer 1911 that's brand new that I might try and push on him if he wants something that has a little bit more of a quality value to it.
The JR is good for about 200 rounds, and then it probably needs a cleaning, but I can push it to about 400 rounds before it starts like stovepiping like every other round.
Wow. That's
but that's a plinking thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't really. Yeah. I guess you could compete with that to an extent, depending on what kind of match it is.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it's a fun gun to shoot, like, because you can shoot it all day. Well,
not all day.
As long as you bring a cleaning rod. It doesn't take a long time.
Depends on how fast you shoot.
Yeah. Pretty fast.
I plan on holding rifle matches at my club. Maybe late this year, or it might wait until next year, but we're going to have, I'm going to call it either limited or a handicap class where you can bring a pistol caliber carbine or something chambered in 22. just to try and get more people out, because a lot of people went out and bought JR carbines because they didn't want to own a restricted rifle, and I just want to encourage more participation. So
I'm in. I mean, I love that gun. Like, it's really, really fun to shoot. But yeah, like the bitch is that I do need to clean it, fairly regularly. I don't get a whole lot of rounds through it until it starts, malfunctioning a little bit.
Yep.
But it's pretty quick. Like, you just run a rod through it with a couple of patches pretty quickly, and then you're good to go again. Like, I don't need to do a full, strip down and everything. I mean,
something about rods and stripping and gramming.
Yep.
That's just a regular Saturday night, guys.
At least a couple of you guys are doing the new Ontario Action Shotgun thing, right?
Correct.
I signed up for the whole season, yeah.
Yeah, screw
Nice.
you guys. I
Like,
can't
well,
sign up
okay.
for the whole season because it conflicts with service and CQB, and I have to be at the CQB matches because of that whole incident.
Are you doing the first match in May?
I don't know. I'll have to look. I wanted to talk about the shotgun stuff, though. Fine, I'll look that up while I'm talking.
One of the things I wanted to know about shotgun, like, is there, obviously it'll come out, but like, is there different levels for it? Like different, like, can you run an optic kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Between open.
I've got a spare Aimpoint T1 that I don't know. I just want to stick it on. I want to stick it on a shotgun.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Do it.
Don't be an open.
Humble brag much. I got Aimpoint T1 just laying around.
No, it'll put you in open. It'll put you in
Okay,
open. You're at
It might be
F4.
nice to be on the sunshine list there, Craig.
I got four lying around. Sorry.
I think there's an EOTech behind me. Yeah.
Okay.
If
I won't be at the May 7th match. That's the CQB day.
Too
Sorry,
bad.
Jeff. What's that?
No, I was just going to say, an optic on a shotgun will put you in open.
Does that
Yeah.
they're stored in there. So.
No, totally put an optic on your shotgun. I like running one on mine.
But mine are just straight 870s. That's what I have at work, and
Yeah.
I like them. They work.
Benelli Supernova.
What are you competing with, Jeff?
I'll show you. Benelli Supernova.
There you go. I took Jeff.
10 shot tube with a big fiber optic on the front. It's a Nova. It's not even a Supernova.
But you know you're not going to be able to load that thing totally. You're only allowed 9 rounds to start.
Yeah, exactly. But Gavin, on the start of the stage, if I have 2 shells in my hand and I throw them in as soon as the buzzer goes, I'm up 2. Like I've got 10. And that depending on the stage, that can be a distinct advantage.
Speaking of 2 shells in your hand at the beginning, what do you have when you hold 2 green balls in the palm of your hand?
Complete control over the Jolly Green Giant.
Kermit the Frog's undivided attention. Yeah. That's a slick rig. Like, is that something where you would put like one of those, like, I know they're mostly for semi-auto shotguns, but to have that extra ammo to slide in once the buzzer goes, would you put a match saver on it, kind of thing, where you?
Well, in 3-gun and shotgun matches, the match savers are usually on the semi-auto guns.
Yeah.
I have not seen one on a pump, but I guess it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, but just throw it on the receiver, stick it on there. It's just adhesive.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that I'm actually deficient in. I haven't shot in almost a year. Is my shotgun, and I think that's one of the base firearm that everybody should have, right? Is a shotgun.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to talk about with that. Is with the shotgun. Is do you guys practice reloading? Because reloading for the shotgun, I find, is my weak spot.
I think that's everybody's.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, it's a pain in the ass, and I find that like my thumb always gets stuck, so I gotta like Dremel out something or other to stop that from happening. And if I have gloves on, like I did, like an idiot, not thinking when I was shooting at the match with everyone else. And again, when you're in that moment, like we've sort of said before, like your brain stops working and you just start, doing whatever it is you need to do. I didn't think to take my glove off that would be quicker than feeding 1 round at a time.
I feel bad because I was your range officer And
Yeah, but
I didn't say anything.
no, but like exactly right. Like your brain goes into that, like autopilot function, and I'm gonna just do what needs to get done as quickly as I can. I'm not thinking, bigger picture per se at that moment. And that's why we need to, train more and more and more, so that when we do go into autopilot mode, these common sense things that are easy to look at after the fact just become automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But with if we're going to talk about shotgun competitions, I think the first thing that people have to get their head around is choke selection. Andrew
Yeah.
and I and Tyler as well, we've all been ROs at matches, and I can't tell you the number of competitors I've seen come to matches with the inappropriate choke in their gun.
My absolute favorite choke is the 870 factory breacher choke on the 870 tactical, because it looks super cool and nobody can knock any plate of steel over with it ever. They'll put like 10 rounds into a plate, like a 4-inch by 4-inch plate, and it'll just sit there and laugh at them.
Yeah, yeah. So, choke selection is such an important part of the shotgun game. And once you get over that, then we can talk about loading and the proper ammo and all that stuff. But, boy, you start off the game with a cylinder choke, you're destined to failure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think most guys competed with cylinder bore chokes at the match last month. And I guess maybe the match is set up with that in mind. Like, the engagement distances were not extreme. They were all, 10 to 15 yards. But once you start really pushing things, then yeah. I was talking to Tom from Team Full Auto, and he was telling me all about competing in Italy, where every stage they were changing chokes, because it wasn't just about getting all your shots on target, but it was really gamey, right? And you had to avoid hitting the no-shoots. They would hit no-shoots with fresh coats of paint for every competitor, so they would know if you hit it or not.
Well, Jeff, do you remember the IPSC shotgun? I think it was the Provincials like 2 years ago at East Elgin.
Yep, yep.
And they had no shoots that were touching their shoot targets.
Yep.
And I think I was shooting an improved modify with buckshot, and even that, and they were not far. Like, everything was probably inside of 50 yards, and even then, I was still throwing the odd, like, pellet into a no shoot.
Yeah, well, with IPSC for sure, and most 3-gun matches, when you have a target and then a no-shoot beside it or nearby, the no-shoot is not counted as a penalty unless you knock it over. So if it gets hit by a pellet and just turns a bit, that's not a penalty.
Oh, no, I was like, that hostage was dead. Like,
Yeah.
every freaking time.
Like,
Every
I
time.
remember when I think of shotgun, I think of the match that Andrew and I were ROing with Team Hoser, and we had my brand new Spartan target out, and it's a silhouette target with 3 spin-out targets on it: head, abdomen, and chest. And we were trying to get these guys to close it. That was part of the stage, and with their cylinder chokes, they just could not close it. They were taking like 10, 15 shots at it. And
Yeah, I mean,
magazines.
at the shotgun match that we were on, I was running, just a open on the short barrel, so 14-inch, and I was having no problem dusting those targets. But then when that gun went down and I went to my 870, I had an improved on the 870. But yeah, it's certainly, if your distances are a lot further and you're running a much shorter barrel, that will definitely play into it. Like, you got to know your weapon and gauge that according to what load you're shooting. No joke there, guys.
There's a joke on there somewhere.
We're just leaving that. That's
and what distance you're shooting at, and what distance you're shooting at, and all of that, right? Like, and that all comes down to just knowing what you're running and knowing your equipment and how it shoots at different distances for what choke you're running and what barrel length you're running, and all of that makes a difference.
What are you going to run? Are you going to run your...
I'm debating. Currently right now I think I'm going to run the 870. I have had the SAP 6 out since then and run it at the range, but I want to run it a bunch more to make sure that it does run properly. I know my 870 does, But again, like we were just saying, like reloading a shotgun is kind of most people's weak spot, whereas the Stab 6 is a mag change.
Mhm.
It's super quick, it's super fast, and I have an 11 round mag that maybe I won't use first because I'm only allowed 9, so I'll run my 6 rounder first and then slap that 11 in second, and that'll
Well, at the
save me
risk of
time.
giving you a competitive advantage, why not run an 11 rounder loaded to 9 instead of the 6?
Because I've only got the one 11, so I'd rather run
okay.
6 than 11. If I had
Yeah.
multiple 11s, I would totally do that.
Yeah.
Well, Gavin, I hate to burst your bubble, but I have, with Andrew, we've both RO'd numerous shotgun matches over the years. I've attended numerous IPSC matches over the years, shotgun, and never have I seen anybody with a mag-fed shotgun do remotely well.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, and that's just personal observation. It's a great idea, and I understand where it comes from because you think magazines are easy to change, but once you conquer the loading, quad loading a shotgun,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's something I've got to work at, and I am.
And then if you move away from the mag-fed shotguns, then you start looking at the mechanism of the loading, and you'll find that 870s with their lift gate that stays in the upright position is not the fastest way to load, and that's why Benelli's, where their lift gate, once it's pushed down, it stays down. You'll just find it's much quicker to load. And not to sing, the Benelli's praises, but that's why if you look around who's running the guns in the top of the classes, they're Benelli M2s or Novas.
Yeah, no, and definitely. I mean, but I've got what I've got, and I want to get good at it. Whether that makes me super, super competitive or not, as long as I'm competitive against myself is kind of how I look at it at this point.
Yeah, like part of competing it's not 100% about winning. It's about putting myself in an environment where I'm motivated to get more out of like my chosen platform.
Exactly. It is all about winning. I only go to shooting matches because I want to beat everyone else.
I love the competitive environment because it's got me shooting at a level that I never would have attained by myself. And I'm against Jeff's advice. I am going to run an optic. I'm pretty sure the Vortex Venom on my 870, and I could easily pop it off. And I still haven't decided on the barrel length right now. This gun currently has a +5 extension, an 18.5-inch barrel, and right now it's fitted with that breaching choke. But my 26-inch barrel has a big fat fiber optic front sight on it, and like that, I could easily switch to that if I decide that I want to just go in manual instead of open. But this gun it's a 9+1 gun, 8-shot side saddle, and then my belt loading systems. I've got 2 AP Customs load 12s, and I'll be running 3x3 for slugs. So I think I could be pretty competitive with that setup, and it'll be interesting to see who shows up in the open class, because I kind of had the feeling that maybe a lot of people avoid it, thinking it's going to be like stupid competitive, and that might actually leave it wide open.
I can't imagine, too many people have speed loaders and all of that nonsense. Like.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing, eh? Like, I can't speak for who's going to show up to these matches that we're talking about, but I know in IPSC, in the open class, there are guys with the tube loaders.
Yeah.
Like you see Jerry Michaluk on YouTube, and they've got those tubes hanging on their waist, and they can load 8 shells in a second.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I would hesitate to go into open, because if my shotgun wasn't set up for tube loading, I would be at a disadvantage. But you're right, it's a gamble, because maybe none of those guys will show up, and you'll be the king of that class.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in open, so it's me and you, Tyler, baby.
My money's on Tyler.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
One of the changes I made to this shotgun recently was I went from a 6-shot side saddle to an 8-shot, and that's because of a deficiency that was highlighted at the last match, where I would switch back and forth between a Mossberg 500, which has an 8-shot side saddle, and then this gun that has a 6, and as a result there would be a change in the saddle configuration. So like under stress, once the timer was running, I would go to grab a slug, out of the go to grab like an additional shot if I ran the gun dry, and then a slug would be there where I wasn't expecting it to be there. So on 2 occasions in the same stage, I accidentally loaded a slug when I shouldn't have, and had to, in one case, suffer the penalty of dumping it on the ground, and in the other case, just lose the time it took me to clear it and put the correct ammunition in. So it's just something that I've addressed, and ultimately, the shooting sports are not cheap sports, and sometimes you just got to throw the money down and get the equipment that works.
Well, yeah, like we've also said, what works for you doesn't necessarily work for everybody else.
Exactly.
We've all got
Some
our
people
own
would never
individual
run a
styles. Yeah. I mean, I've only got a 6 side saddle on mine, but I also run another shell holder on the stock itself, and I find that fairly quick. I find that faster than I find the side saddle.
Well, I've never shot a stage where I've cleaned out my side saddle. It's not really about capacity. For me, it was about consistency, right? I want consistency between platforms.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's why I like to set up all of my guns as similarly as possible, especially if they're a similar platform. Like the 22 I bought off you, my JR carbine, they're pretty much identical. So that way, when I shoot one, I shoot the other. All of those skills are transferable as much as possible.
And I think Gavin brought up a good point earlier when he said competitors have to know their firearms. And whether it's shotgun, pistol, or rifle, I know Andrew and Tyler, we can speak as ROs watching guys shoot matches, and you see that their gun's empty, and you just see them pulling that trigger and pulling that trigger. And, if you're running an AR, when it lands on an empty trigger, you should feel that. Like if you've enough, you should know that chamber's empty and it's time to drop that mag, reload, and chamber around. And you see guys all the time at matches cycling that trigger and like trigger, and what's going on? And they look at the gun, and everybody behind them is shouting, reload, reload, reload. Yeah. And with pistols, it's the same thing. You see guys jerking that trigger, and it's like drop the mag, reload. And it just comes down to being familiar with your firearm.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even when you shoot that 5th shot, unfortunately the 5th and not the 30th, out of your AR, it even sounds different because the action hasn't closed back up. There's still there's a different resonance coming out of the barrel. Like it sounds different. You shoot that gun, you will recognize that. No. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that comes down to gear familiarity, knowing your gun for sure. I've seen many people ROing pistol matches. I've seen many people attempt to engage a target when the slides lock back on their pistol. It's like, what are you doing? I totally understand. You lose track of rounds. And that's one thing where I often hear this from Americans. They try and justify their crummy reloads by saying, oh, I'll count the rounds and I'll reload when I anticipate reloading.
No, you won't.
You will lose. I lose track of rounds when I'm leisurely shooting off a bench. Like you think you're going to keep track of rounds in a stressful situation? Give me a break. So you got to develop that skill set. And I'm not going to praise the gun control regime in Canada for anything, but one unexpected benefit is forcing you to run those reload drills.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I notice it for sure. Like when I run my VZ versus the 22, right? There's no bolt hold open on the 22, and especially when I'm running like the 110 round drum magazine, I'm not counting 110 rounds.
Exactly, yeah.
And will often run dry. But on the VZ, man, like I know that feeling when that bolt doesn't go forward.
Yeah.
It feels totally different. I could, someone could hand me, a magazine with unknown number of bullets, and I could shoot it, downrange safely but blind, and I could tell you when that gun is empty, just by how it feels in my hand. Same way like driving a standard car, I don't need to look at what speed I'm going anymore to shift into the right gear. I just know by the way the car vibrates whether I need to shift up or not.
Yeah, that's exactly. The next thing I think you have to discuss is so if you're given a stage of fire, you have to decide where you're going to reload. It's like Tyler's calling it gaming, but part of it is planning out that space.
That's a part of the sport. It's the reality of the sport.
It's the reality of the sport, exactly. And I mean, if we're talking real life versus competition, it's not the same, and we're not trying to say it is the same. But
No.
when you're looking at a stage, for pistol or rifle or shotgun, you have to be able to say, I'm going to reload at this point, and while I'm in movement, which is the preferable method, while I'm in movement, I'm going to reload while I'm moving to this next portion of the stage. And you have to have a game plan. And we all know that when that buzzer goes off, our game plan completely leaves our head, and we lose about 50% of our brain cells. Yeah,
I'll give you an example. We were shooting a match at North Grey Bruce Rod and Gun, north of Owen Sound last year, and there was like basically two components to the stage. You would engage a number of targets, and then there was a movement component, and then you would engage the remaining targets. The first portion of the stage was 9 shots if you made all your hits. So loading with a standard 10-round mag, if you were confident you were going to make your hits, you would load with a 10-round, rack one into the chamber, leaving you 9 in the magazine, holster, ready to go, buzzer, engage your targets, and then while you move to the second half of the stage, drop the empty mag with still 1 in the pipe, and then reload, and then do your thing. So there's no wasted time there. You're not standing there waiting to engage targets and do your reload. You just do it while you're moving. That's exactly what Jeff's getting at is figuring out the stage, figuring out how you can best accomplish it and beat other people.
Well, that's just using your brain. I mean, like if you could do that in real life, if you knew where the bad guys were hiding, would you not do that in real life? Of course you would.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? Like if you knew, there's one terrorist hiding behind that car, and then there's 2 over there, and another one over there, but then there's nobody, so I'll do a reload there, and then you'd do that for sure. I mean, you'd be stupid not to.
Yeah, but Gavin,
if you have the ability to do that in a competition, you'd be stupid not to. I mean, that's human nature.
Yeah, but see, that's where we run into the different types of competitions. So
yeah.
If we're going to talk about competition, say IPSC, which is not reality-based at all, in my opinion, and it's just about speed and score, versus the ODPL, which is more reality-based. And then you can even take it back to the shotgun match we shot at Tyler's, which Tyler made an attempt to make it as reality-based as possible, where there were penalties for dropped live ammunition, which I've never seen before. And
the targets that you had to shoot in order to reveal the other targets, which unfortunately, once the first guy runs that, it's spoiled for everybody. But at least there was an attempt to make it more realistic in that you can't plan the stage out in advance.
Yeah, that will be changed in the future. We'll have the whole stage be blind. There'll be like a big tarp wall, and only the shooter and the RSO will do their thing.
Yeah, and I think that would be a lot of fun, because that's half the fun sometimes is the surprise, right, of I have no idea what I'm going up against. It's fun to plan it out and go, okay, strategy time, how do I do this?
Well, Gavin, you had the added surprise of whether your gun will fucking work.
Not at that point, because it totally worked at that point once I switched guns and stripped the optic off. The only problem was that I had a cheek razor on and couldn't see under the saddle.
You can borrow my gun and there'll be no surprise.
Yeah. Like I trust a competitor. Didn't you sell Andrew a bad gun with a bad extractor?
Once.
Just one time.
Yeah, one time.
One time. Let's start wrapping it up. Who wants to read me my hate mail?
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, it's all you then.
Okay, let me get this bad boy up. So this is part of the rapid fire feedback, and this is from a gent by the name of James. And it says, I find Andrew's voice annoying. Not sure if it's his actual voice or just the way he talks, but annoys me. Seeing as it's his podcast, I guess there's not much we can do about that. The bullet ricochet sounds censoring the curse words are pretty goddamn annoying as well, especially when someone says a lot of curse words together in a sentence. Also, I don't understand the point of them. Like, do you really care about not getting an explicit rating on iTunes? We're all adults, or at least we should be. Listening to this, why censor at all? Finally, if you do censor, at least to be consistent, censor out everything. In the last episode, as well as some early ones, there were a lot that you missed. What is the point of giving a detailed description of everyone at the beginning of each episode? I think we know who and what they are by now, and if people don't actually care, I'm sure they'll find out. Way to waste bandwidth on the 3-minute-long outro song that nobody listens to. Again, what's the point? Also, last 2 episodes, there was the outro and then about 30 minutes of dead air and then the outro again. So he was sitting there for 30 minutes waiting. Okay. This all being said, the content has been excellent, and I can't say I've ever disagreed with what was being said. Even the weed episode was pretty interesting also. If you have Sean Bevins on again, tell him I love his passion, but he needs to calm down a bit. I don't want him to have a heart attack. We need him. LOL. All I get out of that is your voice is retarded.
And
All right, and with that, we'd like to remind everyone that you are... No, I don't know.
But it's your baby, and we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I got nothing. I apologize for the outro thing. That was the way that the audio mixed in like 2 episodes in a row was weird. I fixed that. If you don't listen to the whole outro, I mean, whatever. I don't care. Don't listen to the whole outro. It's a podcast. You can fast forward parts.
Even the parts with Andrew's annoying voice.
Especially
Probably downloaded it on his data plan, and he's all pissed off. He's all butthurt about it.
Well, our Canadian data plans on our phone do suck balls, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yes, but also the hosting that I have, every episode is 50 megs. So, you know.
That's 50 megs of porn that I'm not downloading thanks to you.
I don't know. It's all 50 megs. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it. Whatever.
Gavin, you can get your gay bukkake porn somewhere else.
I could, but, I mean, that's still 50 megs of gay bukkake porn or Grindr access or whatever that I'm not getting.
Am I the only one who's shocked that anyone over the age of 30 knows what the word bukkake means?
For the record, I have to actually object, just so that's on the record.
That's why I'm on the podcast, so I don't actually have to download it.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, Andrew, but I'm not.
I know what I said. Well, you guys, I'm going home.
Andrew, I don't find your voice annoying at all.
Thanks, Jeff. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I have threatened to auto-tune the entire episode, but I can't find something to match the background music against.
Oh.
We should totally do that for an episode. We could call it the T-Pain episode.
Yeah, I've made the threat before. I don't know. The censoring thing is strictly so we can get the clean rating on iTunes and reach a broader audience. That's
let's do it with techno in the background one day.
Or what if you auto-tune it to Matt Best's new song?
Yes.
Do it with the music from the club scene from John Wick.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad.
Or if you just auto-tune it to a bunch of gunshots.
Yeah, I got nothing. I fixed the really long dead air thing with the. Why are you shining a flashlight at your webcam? What the shit?
I can do it too.
I can do it from my mug while I drink.
We don't have any other hate mail this week. If you'd like to leave hate mail, feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, or you can reach us on Facebook, Facebook.com/CanadianPatriotPodcast. I'd love to hear your hate mail.
We should make this. Let's like mean tweets or something like that. Let's send your shitty hate mail. That's what we want. We don't want any other feedback. Yeah. Send us the shit.
Andrew reads mean tweets. That's going to be an episode.
I'm fine with that. We don't have a Twitter. I'll work on that. If you do want to leave us, Twitter, 140 characters of bullshit. Yeah.
Andrew reads mean Stitcher reviews. If we even figure out how to get them.
I still don't know if Stitcher leaves reviews. I don't care.
I'm pretty sure it does.
That's probably where all the hate mail is. Then
I'll leave you a Stitcher review. I'll leave you a Stitcher review, and it'll be scathing. You can read it next episode.
I'm gonna have to log into Stitcher. God damn. If you do want to leave us positive feedback, if you leave a 5-star review on the good old iTunes, that'll help people find us. And if you want to specify something for Gavin to drink for an episode, he will do that. Within reason.
Yeah.
No Bear Grylls stuff.
I think it's bad enough he was partaking of Ron Jeremy's essence.
Yeah. So when you pour it, is it like initially thick and then it eventually like?
This is the classic alcohol. You guys are just jealous that you have not had Ron DeJeremy in your mouth.
Was there pubic hair in it?
Oh, God. One hair, that's like the worm in the tequila.
No,
you know? Just
but there was a hell
Or
of
it's
a lot.
like when you get screeched in, you got to drink it and let it touch your lip.
Have you heard of the place in like Alaska or whatever that has the toe?
Yeah, the toe. Yeah.
Oh, so dirty. And they're on their 11th toe because people accidentally swallow it. Like,
It's
Where do
disgusting.
they keep getting toes? That's
people donate them apparently.
Dude, you want a toe? I can get you a toe by 3
Yeah,
o'clock.
diabetes is rampant.
Where was that quote when we were doing the Big Lebowski?
When were you doing the Big Lebowski? Was that when I went upstairs to get my shotgun?
No, that was like a
no.
few
We did a
episodes ago.
whole episode. Yeah, Gavin had
When
to
I was
drink
drinking White
Russians.
Russians.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't on that one.
We'll do
was-
another
it
one
was
because the Big
pretty good.
Lebowski's just so
It's a
good.
great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking nihilists.
Forget about the fucking toe!
So much editing. So much.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man,
well,
that's gonna be the shirt that we all get you for your birthday. It's just gonna say so much
So much
editing,
editing.
and then have you like exploding on it.
I'll have a
I
picture
don't
of
know.
him slaved over a keyboard.
I'm seriously considering at this point offering like a paid edited version of the podcast that doesn't have the like the cuss words beeped out. So it'll be like,
Fuck that.
thanks, Jeff. Thanks.
You can charge more for the uncensored, unfiltered episodes. I bet.
Well, the thing about the edited audio is I cut out all the ums and ahs and people talking
Yeah,
over one
I do
another,
the same
and
thing,
like
yeah.
it sounds better. And I mean, I don't
It
edit
does.
to the quality that you edit to, because I mean, I don't give that much of a fuck. Like, but
Well,
I mean,
I told you, man. I have to edit the things that we'd go to jail for out of the podcast.
yeah. See, I just edit the cuss words for the iTunes.
Yeah.
Oh God, the YouTube feedback is happening. We have Totten F. Naughton is on, as is then Victory, and we're currently debating the spelling of the word bukkake.
I believe it's Japanese.
And we're helping everyone get the correct spelling for the Google machine.
What is it?
if they're
UKKA?
able to.
UKKAKE? Is that
Yeah,
it?
I believe that's correct.
Are they able to actually post links in their responses so people can get a visual as
Ju-
well?
Just in case they don't know what that is.
Exactly. Is
Andrew,
it
edit it in a
bukkake? Is
photo.
it bukkake? You know.
No. No. All kinds of no. Remember, you can send your hate mail to feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
But please do not send your bukkake photos.
Just get Brian's yearbook photos.
Poor boy.
Oh.
He's not here.
Well, this is what happens when you can't make the show because of, air quotes, technical difficulties.
He did the same thing on my podcast. Technical
Yeah.
difficulties.
If you say you're going to be here and you're not here, you will get ripped on.
It was an
several
Aaron
episodes.
bukkake shot.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the part where we can find out where we can find you. Where Gavin, are you on the internet?
Yes, I am. I'm not like Marty. I do believe in social media. You can find me, on the Facebook if you look hard enough. But typically, the best place to get me is Instagram under urbex_GTA. Then I'm gonna give another shout out to our boy Wes and his boy Eli, who apparently have been laughing their ass off at circle jerks and bukkakis and reverse cowgirl and everything else. So cheers to you, brother. BTFO.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for listening, Wes. We appreciate it. Tyler, you have a podcast, right?
I do, but I just want to add, I don't think Marty is anti-social media because he seems to have no problem invading the internet vicariously through his wife's accounts. But, yeah, I know I have a podcast I do with a buddy from Texas, International Liver Death Podcast, on Facebook. at facebook.com/libertydeathpodcast. We do have a real website coming up soon at libertyorddeathpodcast.com.
But
I have no idea. That'll be the page where all of the episodes where Gavin's a member of the panel will be linked to.
Amazing.
Instagram at Liberty Podcast and occasionally Twitter, but don't get your hopes up about that. And then me personally on Facebook. Track me down. I'm not a hard man to find. I'll add you.
Just look for the RCMP vans.
Jeff, you still don't believe in social media, right?
Well, Facebook, I'm on there if you can find me, somewhere. And then Gun Nuts, I'm Mississauga Gun Nut if you want to get a hold of me.
There you go. We'll put a link for that in the show notes, Jeff.
I think all of us Mississauga guys are going to have to get together and have a few beers one night.
I'm from Oakville. Do I count?
No.
Yeah, you're close enough.
Your girlfriend's from Oakville. You're from Hicksville.
No, my girlfriend is from Brant County, actually. That's where her family farm is. She lives with my parents in Oakville. That's why she is currently in Oakville.
Oh, yeah, you're close enough. That's like.
What about Craig? Where are you close to, Craig?
I'm not far from you. We've spoken before.
So
at
cryptic.
matches and stuff like that. I'm just up.
He's a little further north of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all close to CW Burgers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we should just go there.
Yeah,
Where is it? Is it Aaron? Are you from Aaron?
Remember, you
No.
can find Craig on Grindr.
Or at C-Dub's Burgers.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of social media. You can hit me up on Facebook. You've got a link for me there. I'll open up the privacy settings. I did get some messages from some people about stuff relating to actual firearms law. Some stuff I can answer. Some stuff I have to be very candid with. I don't know. And then you can find me on here. I might have something more later on once this kind of expands a bit. But yeah, send your hate mail in, man. That stuff's the best.
Yeah, make sure it's like really vulgar. I would love to read
And
that.
scathing.
Video clips and scat.
Oh,
All
geez,
of it.
we don't want scat.
Hold nothing back.
I downloaded scat 5 times. I was thoroughly disgusted.
I was disgusted 4 times.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to make sure,
This
though,
is
right?
all getting cut. I just gotta
Yeah,
get some-
exactly, Gavin. I wanted to make sure I had the right thing.
I mean, not everybody is German and into that whole thing, but, like, you've got to just make sure sometimes, right? Like,
That's right.
be thorough.
Yeah.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm
Craig and Gavin, we're gonna have you. Andrew and I will have to have you guys out to the Guelph Club, and
Absolutely.
We'll run a 3-gun practice. I've developed some new steel targets for us to shoot, and I think they should be pretty fun. And I think we'll have a good time.
I'm in.
I'm down.
I like
As
guns, so I'm
always,
in.
my name is Andrew. You can find all my work on everydaytactical.com, Instagram, and Twitter at edtactical. I'm the host of this rowdy posse of, I don't know, bukkake, scat, loving, grinder using yahoos.
Outlaws.
Don't put me
Yeah,
in
he's-
with them.
When you're out in Mississauga next, I need you to come by and take a look at my fence because you're a contractor in real life. I need you to
That's true.
I might need to hire you.
I do play one in real life.
Good. Well,
Is fence a euphemism for something phallic?
He wants me to look at his wood.
it's leaning to the one side.
It's
That happens
treated,
a lot if
and
you...
it lifts slightly to the left.
Doesn't everybody's?
That's Ron Jeremy.
Yeah. Next time you're down and you got some time, I just want you to come by and take a look at it. So
Yeah, sure.
some cash for you, maybe ammo.
I'll come by, I'll bring the bottle of Ron Jeremy, we can all do
We'll
some
work for
shots.
ammo.
Yeah. So. All right, folks. Till next. What's next week's topic?
I don't know if we have a topic yet next week. Do we have a topic? Does anybody know what the show notes say?
What is next week? We should talk about, because we only
Bukkake.
briefly touched on it this episode. We focused specifically on preparation for competition, but not hunting. And turkey season is just 2 weeks away.
And I would say that shooting competitions and hunting is a totally different thing.
Yeah,
For
because I'm like, you need a license to hunt jive turkeys, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
you totally do.
You can only
call
find
them
a story a year
turkeys?
if
Is
you're
that
really good.
You get a little T on your hunting license to tell you that you can hunt them.
All right, so I've got episode 24. April 18th is ideas to fix the budget. Let's do the hunting show as episode 25.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, before I hit the big red button, let's remind the listeners, you are the True North, strong and free, and I do all of the editing.